Now that we've got all of our turning and threading complete on our new spindle, we can move on to the last lathe operation, which is working on the bore through the center. So we're going to do this end first. So this side is drilled and then it's bored for a number 2 Morse taper. I've got there's a number 2 Morse taper drill bit there just to kind of simulate the size anyway. It would be either a dead center or even maybe a live center, but most likely a dead center would go in that to be used whenever it's being used for something. This is a dead center right there. It's just this is a number 4 Morse taper, which we're going to use to help get this indicated. So we'll get this side drilled, this side bored first, and then once we're through with that, we'll flip it around. We'll probably go back to our 3-jaw chuck at that point and go ahead and just drill this hole through there. This is a 10.2 millimeter drilled hole down to about this point right there. So it's just a clearance hole, really. I doubt anything's ever going to go down through there, but we're going to make it just like the original here. So my plan of attack here is to go ahead and use this dead center right here. This is the one that came with the Precision Matthews lathe. This is a carbide tipped dead center. I'm going to go ahead and touch up this center here again in the end of the shaft just to make sure that it's true with what we've turned here. And then we're going to run this between centers. So we'll pull the tailstock up here like so. And we're going to run this between centers. And then we're going to use this to indicate, we'll indicate our compound slide to the same angle as this right here. And then once we get it drilled and bored to where we need to, we use the compound slide to machine the taper up inside of the spindle there. Okay, so that's my plan, and hopefully it'll all work out good. So let's get rolling on it. Here's my indicating setup. We're just using a Noga with my Starrett indicator and 671 attachment so we can reach down to the back side. I just like using my dial indicators whenever I can, and this is a good time to do that. So we have the tip of the ball there, eye-sighted in the center. I went ahead and pulled the center out. We've got the ball, the tip of it on center with this guy right there. So it should be about in the middle. And then we just fine tune it just slightly there to get this dialed up on 0. We're just adjusting our fine adjust there so you can see. All right. So this is the angle that we're looking for right there because we're going to be boring inside there. So we want to go that direction. So now that we've got the indicator on there, what I'll be doing is just cranking the compound slide back and forth like this, watching the indicator, and you can see that we're off. We'll just go the full length there. So it looks like we're about right at 16 to 17 thousandths off right there. All right, so we'll be bumping this around slightly. All I did was just line it up on site about 1.5 degrees there, which is pretty close. Morse taper, I think, is right at 3 degrees included angle. So it's about 1.5 degrees per side. So we got it pretty close. So we'll go ahead and do this. And I'll show you, let me see, we got my not ball peen, soft blow right here. And I'm going to tap the base of it. And that's what we're going to do to get this bumped in the way we need to. Just like that. So I'm going to keep working it just like that. Looks like we got about 5 thousandths out of it right there. All right, we're just going to keep working that until we get that Morse taper dialed in as closely as we can. I set the camera down and I bumped it one time, and I'm telling you, I think I about nailed this with that one hit that I didn't even have the camera recording. I don't see that needle moving one bit, and it is on it. I'll show you. You can see with the fine adjust, we're moving it just slightly there. I mean, it might be a tenth. That's about as close as we're going to get it right there. I don't want to touch it again, I'm telling you. But what I did, I went over to the toolbox after I set the camera down. I got another soft blow here, and this is how I did it. So I'm not in there, you know, trying to get the center of that. I just put this hammer here, and I tapped it one time, and I saw it move. I swept it in, and I'm like, dang, is the indicator even touching it? But it is. You saw me adjust it there. So that means that we hit our mark. So I'm going to go ahead and snug this and see if it changes our indicated reading there. Looks like we got a little bit of movement there that time. Let me go back. No, I think we're good. Something settled and moved a little bit. So that's 0.5 thousandths per graduation on that indicator, by the way. Tailstock's locked in. Try not to bump this right here. So I think we landed on our taper right there. We look good to go. I'm just going to call that ready. Okay, let's get the drill in a hole. We're going to start with our 10.2 millimeter drill. So I've got a regular jobber length there, but I need one that was a little bit longer. So I went ahead and bought another 10.2 millimeter drill that's extra length there. So that'll help me get all the way past the center of the spindle there. So we'll start with our regular length first and then go up in there with that guy. And we got our flood coolant, so that should help us out, keeping everything nice and cool. So let's go for it. So this will be the pilot hole for this size, and then we're going to go in there to the proper depth with a 5/8 diameter drill. And then once we drill it with a 5/8, then we'll go in with our boring bar and use our compound to bore that Morse taper in there. If this starts slinging and making a mess, I got a chip guard that I can put there on the front side just to keep the coolant off the floor. I think I'm going to go ahead and speed it up. Quite a bit of a gap between 380 and 620 on this machine. We'll try 620 and see how that does. I just didn't want to burn that brand new drill up. That feels better right there. That's about as far as we're going to get with our standard 10.2 right there. Looks like our grind still looks excellent. I'll go in there with the longer. This is just a little visual witness mark that I made that's going to take it past the center of the spindle. Plus I want to get it past where we have the 4 holes that are drilled and tapped. I want to get it past that. So we'll just drill to that length right there. And I showed you the technique I use. I just keep some whey oil here on the ways, and I just keep sliding the tailstock back and forth. I go about 2 turns on the handle here. You can feel the chips starting to kind of pack in there. And that's when I pull it back, clear the chips, keep on going. You just keep working at it. Before you know it, you got it drilled. I've had to do this a lot, different shafts throughout my career that I've had to machine. We'll go in with our 5/8 now. We're going to go to the depth to this little step right here, right where this undercut is. That's about the same length as that they got it drilled. So we'll just use that as our depth visual. Okay, we've got a micro 100 bar in there, 3-inch length. That should more than be adequate for what we're going to do. Hopefully we're not going to get a bunch of chatter, but let's go. So we'll be taking this out to 0.700. That's our large diameter for the Morse taper there. I've got our Z dimension set to a 0 right there. As a matter of fact, I'm going to 0 that on the readout up there too. Come in here and touch this bore. Certainly sounds like it wants to chatter. It gets to that last little bit, wants to bounce on me. I think I'm going to take this guy out and put the 2.5 inch in there and see if that'll help us out there. Still got about 20 or just over 20 thou to bring that out to 0.7. This will probably be the final cut on the Morse taper there. We've got about 12 to 13 thousandths to bring to 700, so I dialed in 10, but I've got a reamer here, and I planned on putting the reamer in there and you know, spinning it a few times just to maybe kind of help slick out the bore, the tool marks in there, and help provide a little bit better taper seat in there. But here we go. Here's what I think will be our final cut here. What I try to do is just keep an even speed on the rotation. Try to keep the tool marks even as you're going through there. All right, I'm pretty sure that's clear. I'm gonna put a 0 on my x-axis there. Bring it in just a touch. Just so I can center everything back up if I want to. Let's see what we got there. Yep. I'd say it's a couple thou off there. Off our target. It should be plenty. We've got our Morse taper reamer here. Seems like it's fitting in there pretty good. So we're going to go in there and hit it with the reamer just a touch. And we've got our drill here, just to use as a sample for the Morse taper socket. Yep, that's fitting in there good. So I'm going to go ahead and ream that out a little bit. We've got our reamer and this tap wrench right here. And then we've got a spring-loaded center. Now this is a good spring-loaded center. It may not put enough spring pressure on that to really apply enough pressure, but we're going to give it a try and see. I've got another one at the other shop that's it's a big boy spring center that puts a lot of preload on it. That's the one I should have had, but I don't have it, so we're just going to go with this for now. And if I need to, I'll just put a regular live center up in here and just put a little bit, a very small amount of force on that as we ream it. So let me see how it feels right here. Feels pretty good. So let me go ahead and get some cutting oil up in there. All we're wanting to do with the reamer, we're not wanting to try to make it bigger. We really just want to clean the bore up, get rid of the tool marks that I put in there by hand boring it. So this may work. We'll just work this a little while and see what it does. It feels like it's cleaning up. Actually, it's getting a little bit easier. See if I can get a little bit of pressure on there. That feels pretty good right there. And then it loosens up, so it should be shaving just a little bit out of those tool marks. All right, let's take it out, see if we got any chips on the reamer here. I got a few small chips in there, so it's definitely shaving it. Yep, we got some in there. I'm gonna clean this out. I'm gonna spray that hole out of there. Get rid of that cutting oil. Find some degreaser here. Let me go ahead and put a piece of my pig mat down in there to catch some of this cutting oil, since I just cleaned it all out. A little bit will help anyway. Go in there with our degreaser and see if we can wash this guy out of there. Seems like it's pretty good. That's a good fit right there. I don't want to get it stuck because I have no way of getting it out of there. I like it. I wanted to give it one more hit with the reamer there, so I put a live center in there so that I can apply just a little bit more pressure to the reamer there, and it's working pretty good. So you spin it a handful of times, it kind of loosens up, and then just make a very light adjustment, just a couple thou on the dial there with the quill handle, and it tightens it up a little bit like that. I was hoping just to kind of polish it up just a little bit more, get a little bit more uniform looking bore in there on our Morse taper. All right, we're going to give that a look right there. I see some shavings in there on it. It's looking better every time, but I think it looks good right there where it's at. It's got a nice polished look to it. Yep. See, we really haven't taken much out of there. We're just kind of slicked out the tool marks. I think that's going to be good. I do want to cut a very, very small center in the end of that so that I can, the tailstock that I'm going to be using to support this, I do want to line it up on this bore with a true center. So I'll probably flip the compound around on 30 degrees, and just very lightly touch that to cut a true center on the end of it. Time to get it out of the forge jaw. And all we got left to do in the lathe is finish drilling the other side. Last bit of lathe work, we just got to get that 10.2 mil hole drill down through there. I went ahead and put our Gator 3-jaw chuck back on. We got it chucked up lightly, and it's running nice and true. I'm going to touch up this center. Now we'll go back in there with our 10.2 millimeter drill. I had to extend the drill out a little bit further. Hopefully I can make it. Wow. I mean, right at the end right there. Right at the end. I'm gonna have to see if I can get it in there just a little bit further. So I'm gonna loosen it up. Show you what I'm doing here. I'm letting the hole just kind of support the drill. I'm gonna see if I can catch just the end of it there. All right, go in there till I stop right there. There we go. Well, I had just enough, but we made it. It took every bit of this drill. Took every bit of that drill to get halfway down through there. All right, last thing, I got a big center drill in there. We're just gonna touch the end of that so that we have a center cut in the end. That's all we need, just a little bit. Well, that was a project. Just clean it up good. Our lathe work is now complete. Okay guys, so that's going to wrap up all of our lathe work on the spindle here. I'm real happy with the way it's turned out. It's a good looking part. All of our fits are on size, and it just looks good. So we're going to move from here over to the milling machine and try to get this guy all finished out. We have 12 holes here that we need to drill in there, equally spaced. We have 4 holes that are equally spaced, drilled and tapped here. These are 5/16 18 holes. Kind of surprised me. I figured they would have been like an 8mm, but they're 5/16. And then we have a keyway to mill in here as well. So once we get over to the mill, that should wrap up all of our machine work and finish this project out. But this has been enjoyable, and we've had a lot of great things to do, a lot of good techniques to share with you over here on the lathe. And I've enjoyed sharing it with you. Hopefully you have enjoyed watching the videos to this point here. So I hope to see you again whenever we get this new spindle finished out.